Hello everyone and welcome to Law and Court Cases and another episode of my true crime series. In today's video we're going to be talking about the tragic events of Brianna Ghey's murder, the aftermath of the events and the UK media criticisms that followed. So without further ado, let's get into the video. For any UK listeners, this case is still very fresh. The last update of this case came out on the 20th of December, so about a week ago at the time of this recording. The killers' names at this moment have not been released due to legal reasons regarding their age, especially because they're both 15 years old, so they'll be referred to as Girl X and Boy Y for the purpose of this video. Despite this, I want to talk about the case now and shine light on the wonderful soul that was Brianna Ghey. As described by her parents, she was a larger-than-life character who would leave a lasting impression on all who met her. Like most 16-year-olds, Brianna had a vast social media presence, including a TikTok account. She would dance and lip-sync to songs on the platform and perform for her followers. This was a way to make her happy and allowed her to express herself. She would show her outfits and makeup skills and only express her truest self on the platform. Her mother, Esther, said Brianna was fearless to be whoever she wanted to be. She was adored by her parents and they loved her unconditionally. On the afternoon of the 11th of February in 2023, Ghey was found with multiple stab wounds on the path to Colchester Linear Park by members of the public. The emergency services were called at 3:13 p.m, but sadly she was pronounced dead at 4:02 by paramedics at the scene. It is now known that Brianna knew one of her killers, Girl X. They had been associated since October of 2022. Brianna unknowingly believed them to be friends, so when she arrived at that park in February of 2023, she was expecting to be met by a friend and return home after some time. What she did not know was that Girl X had been planning the tragic events that would unfold that night for a while, along with her fellow killer and accomplice, Boy Y. Girl X already had an obsession with the grotesque and macabre by the age of just 14. By this time, Girl X had already watched videos about murder and torture. Boy Y stated that Girl X said, "I've liked this stuff for a while, I'm just happy because I finally found a good red room," a snuff movie site. He also claimed that Girl X had previously described herself as a Satanist and that she'd joked about dead babies. I'm not really sure how to describe her personality, but she was not a normal person, he would tell the police. Despite knowing this about her, he somehow decided to indulge in her fantasies. Boy Y had never met Brianna before the day of her murder. Girl X's disturbing compulsions had emerged well before she met Brianna. As well as the interest in murder and torture that began when she was 14, she also had developed an interest in serial killers. Dr. Harold Shipman, aka Dr. Death, one note found in her bedroom read, referring the family doctor turned mass murderer whose crimes cast a shadow over Greater Manchester. Boy Y was no innocent victim, however. Whilst Girl X described these dark fantasies to him, he did not react in a way a normal person would or should. He should have been disturbed, but instead he fed into it. Boy Y would confide in Girl X about the girl he'd been crushing on. As she described the girl Boy Y was sweet on, they began talking about a boy who Boy Y believed to be a love rival. Soon the chat turned to how they would kill him. Boy Y said, "I would like you to do as you see fit. If he is guilty and you dispose of him, cut out his heart, then cook it and feed it to your dog." Convinced she had found her match, it didn't take much convincing on her part to get him involved with the gruesome plan of action. They considered many victims, but they did unfortunately eventually decide that Brianna would be their target. At this point, Girl X went about plotting the whole thing out. Girl X grew closer to Brianna and convinced them that they were good friends. She went as far as to write notes and send text messages that would later be brought forward in court as evidence. It shows how thought out and calculated the plan really was. A letter found reads, Saturday, 11th of February 2023, victim Brianna Ghey. It read in neat, considering handwriting, "Meet Boy Y at Wooden Posts, 1 p.m. Walk down to library, bus stop. Wait until Brianna gets off bus, then the three of us walk to Linear Park. Go to the pipe/tunnel area. I say code word to Boy Y. He stabs her in the back as I stab her in the stomach. Boy Y drags the body into the area. We're both covered up the area with logs, etc." The pair had planned to kill others. This became evident in WhatsApp messages that were sent between the two. Girl X asked boy Y whether he had any rope, to which he replied no, but Lee had lots at the tool shops. He then searched Amazon for ropes, but concluded that £12 plus postage and packaging was just too expensive. Boy E, another victim that they considered, had blocked the Instagram account of Girl X. Encouraged by boy Y to speak to him in person and to buy some rope from the shop in Lee, after which he continued searching for ropes on the internet, she then told him, "If we can't get boy E tomorrow, we will kill Brianna." He responded, "Yeah, it'll be easier, and I want to see if it will scream like a man or a girl," referring to Brianna as an it. They'd also shared some very transphobic remarks between them, ones I will not be repeating. Girl X told him, "We need to think of a plan." Boy Y said, "But the body plan is first. If we know that what we're doing with the body, we'll know what we can do and can't do." The girl then replied, "Let's stab her." Original boy E plan, back and throat, proving that once again this is not the first time they'd considered or conducted a plan for murder. After a few minutes, Girl X sent another message. She's agreed to come to Colchester tomorrow. And boy Y replied, "So I bring my knife." They then conversed about whether or not the knife would be sharp enough. The hunting knife was purchased by boy Y on a family holiday. They then agreed that they would meet at the wooden posts in Linear at 12, where they'll go over the plan again, and also to show where they would be killing her. Another disturbing message read, "When she starts to fall, stab her in the back, then pass me the knife. I want to stab her at least once, even if she's dead, just 'cause it's fun, lol." Sadly, they did go through with this plan. After being pronounced dead at the Home Office post-mortem, which was ordered to determine the cause of death. On the 15th of February 2023, prosecutor Leanne Gallagher said the attack on Yai was extremely brutal and punishing. A post-mortem examination found that Yai had been stabbed 28 times across her head, neck, chest and back. The killers were spotted fleeing the scene and were arrested just 4 days later. The trial commenced at Manchester Crown Court on the 27th of November 2023. Due to the nature of the case and the ages of those involved, reporting restrictions were put in place, preventing the names of both the defendants as well as any other children mentioned during the trial. Both defendants were given the option of participating in the proceeds by either physically attending the court or remotely via video link for their secure accommodations. The case was heard by Mrs. Justice Amanda Yip. For the pre-trial, so whilst in custody, Girl X was found to have traits of autism and ADHD, and boy Y was diagnosed after arrest as autistic and having selective mutism, resulting in him not being able to speak to anyone except his mother. Reasonable accommodations were made for both of the accused during the trial. Because of his selective mutism, boy Y was allowed to communicate with the court by writing. Both perpetrators were given the option to participate in proceedings via video link rather than in person. The jury was also told that both X and Y could react or speak differently in the proceedings due to their diagnoses. The prosecution was led by Diana here, Casey, with Cheryl Mortram acting as junior. The prosecution case opened on the afternoon of the 27th of November 2023 and concluded on the 8th of December of the same year. During the trial, the prosecution presented evidence in the form of text messages to the defendants had previously tried to poison Brianna using an excessive amount of ibuprofen, resulting in Brianna becoming extremely sick in what her mother had thought to be, at the time, appendicitis. The defendants had allegedly poisoned her in this manner due to Brianna struggling with depression. They thought that they would not become suspicious if she suddenly died of an overdose of using over-the-counter medication. After that attempt failed, the prosecution alleges the defendants planned to kill her via repeated stabbing, with boy Y saying that he wanted to see if it will scream like a man or a girl. The prosecution presented further texts in which, prior to these attempts, Girl X was recorded as saying that she would become obsessed with Brianna, and the Brianna was really different and really pretty. Both X and Y made separate defense cases. Richard Pratt, KC, led the defendant's case for X, while Sarah Holt acting as Junior, and Richard Litter, KC, led the defendant's case for Y, with Stephen Swift acting as Junior. Each defendant placed the blame on the other, arguing between themselves on who was the accessory of the act. Defence for Boy Y said that Girl X had told him to bring the hunting knife to the park, and that she had a plan to stab Brianna. Boy Y further stated that he didn't take Girl X's alleged plan seriously because she had a history of always talking about murder and nothing happened. This allegedly ended with Girl X stabbing Brianna to death, which Boy Y saw. Boy Y denied holding any animosity towards Brianna regarding her trans identity, and Boy Y's defendant accused Girl X of manipulating him due to his autism and selective mutism. Girl X's defence team held that she may have lured Brianna to the park where she was stabbed and come up with the plan in question. However, it was only done as part of this fantasy, and that it was Boy Y who carried out the stabbing to Girl X's shock. Girl X described herself as not stopping the act despite her surprise due to being afraid of Boy Y. Describing him as a sociopath, Girl X's defence also pointed out how any excess amount of Brianna's blood was later found only on Boy Y's clothing, whilst none was found on Girl X's. The trial lasted 3 weeks, concluding on the 20th of December of 2023, with both defendants being found guilty of the murder of Brianna Ghey. Jury deliberations lasted for 4 hours and 40 minutes. Mrs. Justice Yip indicated that life sentences would be forthcoming. On the 21st of December 2023, Yip ruled that the anonymity order that protected the identities of the convicted murderers would be lifted, and they would be named during their sentencing hearing scheduled to take place on the 2nd of February of 2024 at Manchester Crown Court. The Deputy Chief Prosecutor for the Crown Prosecution Service in Cheshire and Merseyside said that CPS's role in the present evidence for the prosecution, rather than establishing a motive, the judge is to decide that the sentencing if there was any motive of the murder, including that of transphobia. Following the case and during the media made a mess of a lot of things. They refused to address Brianna as a trans girl, and some articles even used her dead name as if to further insult both her memory and her family. The Trans Society Network said that some media outlets were publicly disrespecting Ghey for the coverage of her death. After this, many news outlets corrected the articles, replacing the incorrect information with the correct terms that Brianna identified with, removing her dead name and addressing her as they should have from the beginning. The website The Mary Sue condemned what is described as transphobic atmosphere of the British press and widespread transphobic reporting on the killing of Ghey. An article by NBC News on the killing commented that the climate of the UK had grown increasingly hostile for trans people over the last few years, noting that advocates within the LGBTQ community had often criticised the UK media in the last few years over publishing articles embracing anti-transgender sentiments. Sentharan Raj, a professor of human rights and law, said, "We all have a responsibility to challenge the insidious ways the media and politicians dehumanise trans people." Ash Sarkar, a journalist from Novara Media, said, "She cannot fathom the callousness involved in making the editorial decision to violate her dignity in death." Labour MP for Warrington, North Charlotte Nichols, said that she would be lodging a complaint with the Times and the Independent Press Standards Organisation, and that there is absolutely no need whatsoever for anyone to publish her dead name when identifying her as trans in media coverage. As I mentioned at the beginning, she had quite the platform on TikTok, and TikTok took this with full force. A TikTok memorial account and a GoFundMe page was set up for Ghey's friends and to support her family. It raised over £70,000 in 3 days and amassed over 36,000 followers on TikTok. After Ghey's fundraising page amassed £100,000, her family thanked people for their overwhelming generosity and stated that the money was spent on her funeral, refurbishing her room, and the purchase of cremation jewellery for the family's remembrance. Some of the donations were designated to the UK's Children's Mental Health Charity. Candlelit vigils were held across the United Kingdom and in Dublin, Ireland, in the week after Ghey's death. The attendance of many of these vigils numbered in the hundreds, if not up to the thousands. A Cheshire police investigation said that Yai's family was overwhelmed by the messages of support, positivity and compassion across the country and beyond. This is the story of Brianna Ghey. My heartfelt condolences go out to the family and the friends of the young girl. Her life was cut short and taken far too soon, but I just hope now her family can go through the process of grieving their daughter's loss, feeling that justice has been served. So, if you managed to stay this long, I want to say thank you. If you want to see me do more content like this, then please subscribe so we don't miss out on any further videos. Thank you so much for watching. Enjoy the rest of your day.